Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so sorry about this. I definitely recorded a whole intro to this story time, but somehow the footage got lost, and I'm really sorry about that. There's nothing I could do. I mean, it's getting real ghetto out here. Y'all know what it's like over here. Y'all already know. You know what I'm saying? If you are new here, hey girl, hey, my name is Leah. I make videos, story times, all types of stuff. So don't forget to subscribe. And everybody, whether or not you're new or you're returning, don't forget to hit that like button. Liking the video helps me a lot. It helps me with my engagement and helps other people just like you see my content. So don't forget to like the video now. Okay, thank you. Another thing is I will be doing advice videos. Some of you did ask me to start doing advice videos because you like the way I convey my story times and it kind of always has a lesson at the end of it. So if you want advice from me, if you want advice from somebody who is younger, older, the same age as you, doesn't matter, then send me an email at advicefromleah@gmail.com. I'm going to put it in the screen right here. All information will be left anonymous, and I will answer your questions and stuff like that to the best of my ability. Of course, I'm not a professional. I'm just a girl who's been through some things. And if anybody can give you an answer, it's probably me. Okay, so send me an email and let's get on to story time. Today's video is going to be a story time. It is story time Sunday, everybody's favorite day of the week. And I'm back with another one because y'all know my life is, sometimes a mess, but I feel like it's getting better. But I'm here to tell you the messy parts, okay? Yeah. Today's story time is about the time I went to Mexico. For the sake of the story, for the sake of people's identities, for the sake of peace, and for the sake of just how I want to tell my story, I'm going to be changing some things, okay? If you know, you know. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know. If you do follow me on Instagram and you remember this time, then shut your mouth. Don't say anything. Don't comment anything. Don't do none of that, because I'm gonna block you, okay? All right, let's get started. So a while back, I had something that I was celebrating, and I was not doing anything to celebrate it. It was just like a milestone in my life. And although I'm somebody who usually doesn't like celebrate things, like my friends know this, my family know this, like I'm not a big celebrator. I celebrate my wins by myself, and I'm thankful and I give God the glory. But like, I don't do big things. I don't throw big parties. I don't make a big deal on social media. That's not my tea, you know what I mean? My friends usually urge me to celebrate my wins, but I don't really, that's not really me for real. So around the time that I was celebrating a win, I decided not to do anything for it. And my friend Emerald called me, and my friend said, hey, I know you're not doing anything, for this thing that happened in your life, but my brother's getting married in Mexico, and I decided we could kill two birds with one stone. Why don't we go to my brother's wedding? I'm going to be in the wedding. I'm going to be a bridesmaid. Why don't you come with me as my +1? And we can also use this Mexico trip as like a celebration for your victory. So I'm like, okay, cool, say that. Like, that's a perfect idea. Now, if you're not new to my channel, you know that I'm not a big Mexico person. I'm not big on Mexico. I think I said one time in a story time that Mexico made me nervous because all of the things that went on there. And while everywhere could be dangerous, and while everywhere could have some things going on, at this time there was a lot happening in Mexico, like a lot in the news about stuff that was happening in Mexico that made it to like an international like news outlet type of vibe. And although that was happening, I was like, you know what, like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my big girl panties on. I'm gonna be brave, and I'm going to let God take the wheel, and I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna go to Mexico, and I'm gonna go to my friend's wedding, my friend's brother's wedding, and we outside, and that's it, and that's all. It was only a 4-day trip, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, it's not like I was gonna be there for 2 weeks. Like, it's fine, it's whatever. So I was like, okay, cool, say that, let's go, let's do it, it's a bet. So she was like, I say that. So a few months before the wedding, Emerald actually knew what the plans were. As far as like where her brother wanted all the guests to stay, the resort they were staying at, she knew all the booking information and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, and that reason is not important, so I'm not going to mention it, her mother, her aunt, her sister, and 2 of her brothers decided they were not going to stay at that resort. They were actually going to stay a little bit off of the resort, like in the surrounding area, but they weren't going to stay at the resort. Now me, I'm a resort person. I'm a resort girly. I want to be a resort, okay? I love resorts. They make me feel like I'm on vacation. They make me feel upper echelon, like Raymonte says. And so I love a resort, you know what I mean? Like, I would choose a resort every single time when I go on vacation. However, this is my friend's trip, essentially. This is her brother's wedding. She invited me. I'm her +1. She told me she's gonna pay for the flight, she gonna pay for the accommodations, big money, and I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna do whatever it is that she wants me to do, and I'm not gonna complain, and that's it. So I was like, all right, cool, we're gonna stay at a resort then. So beforehand, like I was saying, her brother had told her all the information and they had decided that they weren't going to do it. So we had to decide where we were going to stay and what flights we were going to be on. As far as like the accommodation goes, most of her other family that weren't staying at the resort, so her mother, her sister, her aunt, and then the two brothers, they were going to stay at an Airbnb, but she did not want to stay at an Airbnb with them. She just wanted to stay in a hotel room with the two of us so we could vibe and we could, you know, be on our own tea. So I said, all right, that's fine too. That's cool with me. So we go looking for a hotel. We had an issue looking for hotels because this part of Mexico was not the Cancun that everybody knows. It's not the Cancun that you see on spring break. It's not the Cancun that you see on TikTok, on social media, on YouTube vlogs. It's not that Cancun. It's Cancun area, but it's like more localized. It's more residential. The area was it was touristy, but it wasn't as touristy as central Cancun, which I've never been to, by the way. We were staying in that area and there weren't a lot of options. You know, most of these hotels were boutique hotels. They didn't have any other resorts aside from the one that everybody else was staying at that was in the wedding party. So we didn't have a lot of options. Finally, we came across this hotel that was like a really good price. The pictures of the hotel looked good. They looked fine. It looked like it was an updated hotel. It looked clean and stuff like that. And realistically, we only needed some place to take a shower and to lay our heads. We really didn't need no 5-star type of treatment, even though I am a 5-star type of bitch.
I know that's right.
We didn't need to do our biggest one on this trip because, again, it was only going to be 4 days. So we decided to book that hotel. She decided to book that hotel because it was on her name and she paid for it. That is important. My name was nowhere on this reservation, right? Remember that. So as far as the flight goes, she was going to book her flight with me, but then her mother had to remind her like, hey, remember a few months ago we actually booked all our flights together and I paid for your flight, and you know you're gonna be on our flight, so you don't have to buy a ticket. So when she remembered that, she was like, oh shit, like I do have a ticket. What do you want to do? Because now you have to fly on your own. Are you comfortable with that? Are you cool with that? And I'm like, yeah girl, like I've flown by myself multiple times before. It's fine as long as we land on the same day, not too far apart in time from like when I land versus when you land, then I'm cool with that. Like it's fine. I can handle it. I can figure it out. That's fine. Now I said this with the thought in mind that I was gonna be able to check into the hotel.
That is not correct.
Another thing with this trip is that I had to actually fly with Emerald's little brother, because at the time that the family had booked their trip, they didn't know whether or not the little brother was going to be able to come because of school and all of these things going on. So they didn't know, so they didn't book him on a flight. But last minute, they actually found out that, you know, it's feasible. They said they could bring him on a trip. So they was like, you know what, Leah, are you cool with like taking him with you? Are you cool with taking him back? He's not going to stay in a hotel with us. That's what Emerald was saying. He's going to stay with my mom and them. He's gonna be on a flight with you. So I'm like, yeah, you know, he cool. I met the brother a couple times before. He cool, we cool. He's one of them quiet kids. He don't give no problems. He just be on his phone watching his TikToks. Like, we're fine, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool, I can handle it. I can handle it. So the brother gets booked on a flight with me, seats next to me and all of that. The day before the flight, I had realized that we did not have any accommodations. Again, I have never been to Mexico. All I've heard is that Mexico can be a little bit chaotic, Cancun in particular. So I'm like going on TikTok, and I don't know what it is, but the TikTok algorithm is crazy. Because how did TikTok know I was going to Mexico? Riddle me that.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
The FBI is watching and watching closely, because as soon as I knew I was going to Mexico, they kept showing me videos of people in Cancun. They were showing me videos of like airport transfers, like all types of stuff. And I had remembered that I saw a video not too long ago where some lady was saying that when you go to Mexico, you have to be careful about transportation from the airport because there are a lot of scammers. She was saying that there are so many people who will come to you and be like, hey, do you need a taxi? But what they're really trying to do is sell you a timeshare. And so now you're talking to this person for like an hour and a half. And then when you say like, no, I don't want to do this, I just want a taxi, they're like, they get really mad and they tell you to get you a taxi, but it's like $100. So I was like, no. No, you're not gonna do that to me. So I'm like looking for airport transfers in Cancun, and I'm using the best resource, Tik Tok. So I go on TikTok and I'm looking for airport transfers, and finally I find one. They were called Calm Transfers. If you're ever going to Cancun, Mexico, if they're still in business, definitely book with them because they were very professional, very affordable, easy process, all of that. So I'm like getting my feet done the day before the flight, and I booked with Carm Transfers. So I tell Emerald, I'm like, hey girl, like, by the way, I found a transfer for me and your brother to get from the airport to the airport. She's like, I bet, say that. So I booked it. I think it was like $40 or something, and that was that. The day of the flight, my flight was before Emerald's flight with the rest of her family. So I think my flight was at, let's say my flight was at like 10:30 and we landed at like, I don't know, 1:30. I don't remember how long it took me to get to Mexico. But my point is, my flight was before Emerald's flight, and her flight was to land about an hour and a half after my flight had landed in Mexico. So the day of the flight, she takes us both to the airport. We check in and stuff like that. And, you know, we're chilling. We're waiting for the plane. We get on the plane. He's seated. He falls asleep. I'm on the plane. Like, the flight was fine. The flight was beautiful. Nothing happened. No turbulence. It was great. So I'm thinking, we off to a good start. This is perfect. We land. And as promised, it is chaotic immediately. Okay? Immediately, it's chaotic. We get off the plane. And this is like a very busy airport. So, you know, little boy's next to me. And I'm like, we're looking at the signs because they were both in Spanish and in English, thankfully. And we go pick up my bag because he didn't have a bag. He only had a backpack with him. So we go pick up my bag, and after we get my bag, I'm like looking around for the signs, and I'm like, where is customs? Like, where y'all at? Because I've been to multiple countries, and every single time you get your bag, usually customs is right after, so they can check your bag. They can ask you what you doing here, how long you here. I'm thinking Mexico especially is gonna have like a really solid custom system. That was not the case. I'm trying to figure out where we supposed to go after this. It was so hard. I was like, what in the entire hell is going on? So I get my bag, and I'm like looking around, and I'm trying to see what direction people moving in, and it seems to me that people just going straight through the doors. So I'm like, oh, I think we just leave. I talked to the little boy. I'm like, do you see a sign right? You see one of these? He like, no, I don't see nothing like that. I think everybody just leaving. He's like, I think we could just leave. I think we could just leave. And I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. Like, this is your first international flight. You know what I'm saying? This don't sound right to me. So I'm looking around, and I'm trying to see like if there's a place we could go to. Nothing like that. There were security, airport security. There were Mexican military and stuff like that near the front of the entrance. And I'm like, I feel like if I do something wrong, they're gonna tell me. So why don't we just keep walking? So we keep walking towards the front. Nobody stops me. I don't get tackled and nothing like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. The doors open to the outside, and it's immediately chaos. When I tell you it's chaotic from the very beginning, I said, oh wow. Oh wow, this is a shock. I'm standing outside when I tell you it's like 75 people all clamoring around, all in different color shirts, talking to people, trying to get people to come with them. They have signs, trying to sell people excursions, trying to get people airport transfers, trying to get people to book hotels and resorts and all of these things. And I'm like, oh my God, this is entirely too much for me. I'm somebody that gets overwhelmed quite easily, unfortunately. So I knew that I had to pull it together fast. Not only because, number one, I'm in another country and I can't show fear, but number two, I'm also with a child. I'm somebody's guardian right now. So I need to pull it together and make sure he's safe. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just go stand by the wall close to the airport door just in case I need to turn back in. Let me pull up the information for the airport transfer and try to find our car. So he's standing next to me and he's just looking around and stuff like that. And I'm looking through the email that people gave me. I had saved it, and they're telling me like, for example, they're telling me like, look for somebody with a gray shirt and like a gold logo. They're gonna have a sign with their name on it. So I'm like looking around for that person. I do not see anybody like that. Mostly everybody else was wearing blue, but I'm like, I think I would see a gray shirt and a C, and I would definitely see my name. I have a very unique name, so I would definitely see my name. So I'm like, don't see anybody like that. That's weird. He doesn't see anybody like that either. So I was like, shit, like I might have to walk a little bit deeper into the crowd. So I'm like, follow me, stay close to me, don't pick up your phone, don't do nothing like that. We're gonna walk towards that wall and we're gonna see if we find him. So he gets to walking with me, and when I tell you, I had been approached by like 3 different people trying to sell me things like, oh ma'am, do you need something? Hey ma'am, do you have a second? Hey ma'am, are you okay? Hey ma'am, do you need a phone call? No.
Both of y'all back the fuck up.
No. So I'm like, no thank you, I'm good. No thank you, I'm okay. No thank you, don't need it. No thank you, no thank you. I had said no thank you so much, at some point I'm just like, I'm not interested. And I'm like walking, I'm getting frustrated, I'm trying not to get an attitude, but I'm like, I really just have to get to this wall so I could do what I have to do. So I get to the wall, I don't see the guy I'm looking for. So I'm like, shit. I pick up my phone and I'm like, again, looking at the instructions, I don't see him. So I decide to call the people. I call them and they're like, you know, hello, hi, car transfers. And I'm like, hi, you know, I just landed. I'm looking for the person who's supposed to pick me up. I don't see him. Can you help me? So the person on the line says, we're going to call him. We're going to call you back and we're going to get you there. So I say, fine. They call me back after like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And they're like, the guy is coming around. He had to park in the back because he couldn't see you, but he's going to come around right now for you. So I say, okay. The guy did come around, I think like 2 minutes after that. He did have the shirt they say to look out for, and he also had my full name on a paper. I'm the only person with my full name, definitely my first name and my last name, as far as I know. So then after that, he's like asking me for the confirmation. I give him the confirmation, and we get on the shuttle. You know, he puts our luggage in and everything like that. So as we're on the shuttle, I text Emerald. I had texted her when we first landed and said that we landed, and then I had texted her when we got in the car, and I said, hey, you know, I'm in the car, whatever. So I think she was already in flight at this point, or just landed, or was just taken off, or something like that. She had just taken off. I think that's what happened. So she's like, okay, cool, perfect. Let me know what happens, and let me know if you could check into the hotel if everything goes okay. So I say fine. We pull up to the hotel, and again, this is like a residential area. It's a tourist area, but it's like half tourist, half residential. So there's like people's homes and stuff like that. The streets are extremely narrow. There aren't a bunch of hotels, so I'm thinking it can't be that hard to find my hotel, right? Wrong. The place where this hotel was located was like kind of hidden by a tree branch, but it kind of was hidden because of the way it was fixed into the street. So I'm like looking around, and I'm like, oh shit, like where's the hotel? Finally, we find it, and we walk inside. This is a boutique hotel, so it's very small. It doesn't have a big grand lobby like a Hilton or a Marriott or anything like that. It has literally just the front desk, some stairs, and then around the corner where there was like an elevator that I could not see at the moment. There was no desk, there was no bench, there was no seats, no comfy couch, no nothing like that. It was just her and me and vibes, and that's it. So we walk in, and I'm like, hi, good morning. My name is Leah. I'm here to check in, but my name is not on the reservation. So she's like, okay. So I'm like, yeah. So she's like,
What's the reservation name?
so I say Emerald, blah, blah, blah. Let's say Emerald City. I say Emerald City. So she goes, I don't see an Emerald here. She has all these paperworks, I guess, where people who check in have to like sign off on it or whatever. She doesn't see one for I don't see that. I don't see that name here. So I'm like, oh, that's weird, because I called 3 days before to confirm whether or not her name was on the reservation, and you guys told me yes. So she's like, well, I don't know who picked up the phone when you called. And I was like, I'm not saying it was you. I'm just saying, like, we called and they confirmed that her name was on there, so like it should be on there. Again, I don't have an attitude. I'm talking to her the same way I'm talking to y'all, and the same way I'm talking to y'all, like she is the same way she was talking to me. So she's like,
Well, I'm not the one who picked up the phone.
I'm like, yeah, ma'am, I know. I'm just saying like her name was on there. So she's like, okay, well, let me just see. Let me see. So she like goes into the system or whatever. She's like looking up like Emerald's name, and finally she sees her, and she's like, okay, well, yeah, I see Emerald City right here. Click on in, checking in at 3 o'clock, blah, blah. And she said, well, it's not 3 o'clock. I said, yeah, I know. I was wondering if I could check in early. You know, I'm willing to pay an early check-in fee if the room is available, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, well, you could check in early if you want to pay a check-in fee, but also, what's your name again? So I was like, my name is Leah. My name is not on the reservation. Emerald's name is on the reservation. I do have her confirmation. I do have the receipt. I have everything, if that's okay with you. So she's like, no.
Not gonna happen. Never.
She's like, it's not, no, we don't do it like that here. And now here's the thing, I'm not an irrational person, and I'm not an unreasonable person. I've booked several hotels before, internationally and locally, so I know what the policy is, and I know for safety reasons, they are not going to let you upstairs unless your name is on the reservation. Unless you are the co-person on this reservation, they're not going to let you upstairs. I get that, I appreciate that, it's safety, right? But I'm trying to tell her, I never been in Mexico before. I ain't never been to Cancun before. I don't know this area. This is a residential area. Like, is there any way I could get upstairs? So she's like, no. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So she's like, well, do you have any proof that you know this person? And I'm like, yeah, I have the confirmation, you know, receipt. And she's like, no, I'm gonna need something else. I'm gonna need identification for Emerald City. So I was like, oh, well, I don't have that. And I'm like laughing a little bit. I was like, well, I don't have that. Like, I don't just walk around with my friend's ID on me. And she's like,
You don't have a picture of your friend's ID?
you don't have a picture of your friend's passport? Like, how dare you not have this, and how dare you try to check in without this information? And I'm like, no, I don't have that. So she's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. What you can do is you can have her give us a call or send us an email and confirm that you can check in. I said, I don't know if she's going to be able to do that. She's mid-flight right now, but I'm going to try to reach out to her. So she's like, okay. So I'm like, is there anywhere around here I can, you know, take a seat and, you know, just wait out the hour until she comes? Like, is there any place, any restaurants you recommend I could sit next to? And she was like, I don't know. I mean, it's a beach right there. It's a tourist area. Like, you'll find something. You could just find something. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm like, okay. So I'm about to walk out with my suitcase, because at this point you already have an attitude with me. I don't know if you're about to go through my stuff. I don't know about you. You about to plant something on me. I don't know what the issue is. So she's like, you can leave your suitcase with us. Just like, give me your name. I'll put a tag on it. It's going to stand behind the desk. Nobody's going to touch it. You're going to be fine. So I was like, are you sure? Because, and she's like, no, it's fine. Just give me your suitcase. So I was like, okay. I would have said no, and don't yell at me in the comments and I'll be like, why would you give this lady your suitcase? She already had an attitude with you. I understand that. I received that. However, you have to understand, I have a sweatsuit on. It is hot. We're in Mexico, and now I have to go find a suitcase, and I have a child with. I have to go find a restaurant, and I have a child with me. Like, dragging a 50-pound suitcase is not going to be helpful in this situation, especially not in these narrow streets. So I left the suitcase there, and I just prayed that nothing else would happen to it. Praise God, and nothing happened to it. But we're going to get there. So I'm like standing outside. Me and the boy, we go outside, and I'm standing up against the wall, and I pick up my phone, and I'm like, you know, Google mapping the area, and I'm like looking for restaurants and stuff like that, you know, little cutesy restaurants where we could have like maybe a fruit smoothie and something, a little taco, you know, so we can wait this out. So I'm standing there, and as I'm on my phone and I'm looking around, the little boy goes, she was trying you. And I said, huh? He was like, she was trying you. She was being very rude. She was being disrespectful to you. She wanted to get a reaction out of you. I said, you know what? Clock that T, clock that T, clock that T. The fact that this child was able to see this, now he's not dumb. I said he's very, 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 very smart child. So regardless of him being a child, he would have clocked it to begin with. But you know what they say about children, they're very perceptive and they always tell the truth. So he was like, yeah, no, she was being very rude to you, like just very nasty. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you. So I'm like, you know what, it's fine. Because what am I going to do? Tell the child, you know what, I should have whooped her ass? Never. I'm never going to say this out loud. Even if I think it, I'm never going to say that out loud. So I was like, you know what, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. So finally I find a place, a little restaurant, not too far away. I think it was like a 4-minute walk or 5-minute walk, something like that. So I'm like picking up my phone. I'm looking up the map, trying to go in the right direction. Also trying to make sure the child is next to me. He's safe. Nobody snatches him and shit like that. Trying to make sure I don't bump into anybody. Again, very narrow street. So I'm doing all of these things. I'm walking. We finally get to the restaurant. A waitress sits us. She gives us, you know, 2 menus and stuff. He's not hungry. He wants a juice. So I get him like a fruit juice. I get myself a fruit juice, and I get myself a nacho. What I really wanted was a double shot of tequila. But again, I'm with a child. I cannot drink. I feel like that's very irresponsible, especially when it's not mine. You know what I'm saying? So I get myself a fruit juice, and I get myself a little taco. Okay. And then I get to texting Emerald, and I tell her the situation. I'm like, yo, bro, like, she's not going to let me upstairs. She's not going to let me check in the room. She said my name is not on it. She's not playing them games. She asked if I had an ID, a picture of you. I don't have one. So I definitely can't get it now. So I'm like, she's like, damn, like she has ID, Wi-Fi. I think she was on JetBlue. I'm like, yeah, can you just send me a picture of your ID, like your passport? So she sends me a picture of her passport, and I'm like, okay, like I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to her at some point. But right now, like me and Buddy is just sitting here and we just like waiting now. She's just like, cool, I should be landing in like 30 minutes. I'll let you know when I land. Right. So I'm like, okay. So we're sitting there and we're talking, we're drinking our fruit juices and stuff like that. He's like, do you have service? Do you have service? You know, kids always need service so they can get on TikTok, always, so they can get on YouTube. And I'm like, nah, I don't have any. So we're just talking and we're laughing and we're like looking at the beach and stuff like that. And he's like asking me questions and we're vibing. After we finished, I think it was like 20 minutes after, I was like, you know what, let's get up and let's like walk around. Like, let's not go too far. But the area we were in, there were like other restaurants there. I could see that. And there were like little shops, little like tourist boutiques and stuff like that. So I was like, let's just like walk around in the area so we're not just here like sitting ducks. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like to sit in one place for too long, especially in another country, and especially when I'm not buying anything. I feel like when I'm not buying anything, like buying more food or buying more drinks, something like that, I feel like they just look at me like broke ass bum. I feel like they just look at me crazy, you know what I mean? Even if they don't, So I like to move, right? So I was like, you know what, let's just get up and go. I didn't have my suitcase, like I said, and he only had his backpack. So it's not like we were carrying a bunch of load. So I paid a bill and I get out and we start walking, and a minute or less, it starts to pour. I'm talking rain on me. It is raining. Okay, it's raining. And I'm like, oh shit. So we run undercover to like one of the other restaurants that weren't far from the restaurant that we just came from. And we're standing there and I'm like, damn, like that's crazy. Like, how did this happen? He's like, he starts to laugh. He's like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I'm like, oh my God. So we start talking or whatever. And the rain does go away after like, I want to say 2-3 minutes, because it was just a sun shower. If you've been to the Caribbean, you've been to South America, you know, sun showers happen all the time. It's pretty normal. So he's like, that's so funny. That's so funny. And then after that, after it stops raining, I was like, you know what? Let's just go back to the place we were, because I don't want to have to run again. Like, let's not do that. So he's like, okay. So we go back and I get seated again, and the lady's like, oh, welcome back. And I'm like, thanks. And so I pick up the menu again and I order a different flavor of the fruit juice. He didn't want anything. So again, he's on his phone searching for Wi-Fi, and we seated at this table and I'm sipping on my fruit juice and I'm texting Emerald, and I was like, hey girl, everything okay? And she's like, yeah, we just landed. We'll let you know as soon as we're able to, like, you know, get through customs and then also come out here. So I'm like telling her how I didn't even go through customs because I didn't see customs, and nobody, like, there was no, you know, thing. So she was like, okay, like, we'll let you know what happens. So she's like, did you ever go back to the hotel? I said, no, we were just waiting here for a minute. I'm gonna go back in like 15-20 minutes to see what happens. So she's like, okay, no problem. So me and little boy are sitting there, we're talking, and I'm sipping on my little drink and stuff like that. And there's this family who, in the 3 minutes that we had left the restaurant, got rained on and came back, they had came to the restaurant. So it's this family, it's this man, his wife, and like their 2 kids. So they're sitting there, and then this man who is playing like this guitar comes in, right? He has his traditional Mexican outfit on and stuff like that. And he's playing the guitar for them. He asked them if he could play the guitar. So the guy's like, yeah. So he starts to play the guitar, beautiful song. You know, it's nice, it's a vibe. You know, they're doing their thing, they're getting their money on, as he should. And he's done, and the family's like clapping and stuff like that, and the guy gets his wallet out to tip the guy, and the wife said something. I don't know what it is that she said, but it must have been something snarky. Like, it must have been like, why are you tipping him, or you're giving him too much money, or something of that matter, because as soon as she said that, the man blacked on her. He was like,
Oh, Carol, why don't you shut the fuck up? Why don't you shut the fuck? You're always nagging. You're always going off. You're always doing this. Just shut up. We're on vacation. We're on vacation.
he's like yelling at her, and I'm like, and the little boy's like, and the kids are like, because clearly they're used to this, and Carol is mute. Carol doesn't want any more problems with this man, okay? So after he's done yelling at her, he pulls out his wallet again and he gives the man his money. He's like, thank you so much, sir. And the man is like, yeah, thanks. And he walks away, and everybody's uncomfortable. So the guy then comes up to me. He's like, oh, can I play your song? And I'm like, no, thank you. We're okay. No, thank you. So he walks away and stuff like that. And then me and little boy, we started talking in hushed tones about what just happened. So then after that, we go, right? And I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for us to go. So we get up and we go to the hotel. We walk back to the hotel, and I walk back in. Now at this point, I already had a picture of Emerald's like ID, and I also had an email from her that said like, hi, my name is blah 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 blah, and I'm allowing Leah to check in the hotel with my permission and stuff like that. That's what the lady told me I needed. She told me if I could get a picture of her ID and confirmation that I can check in, I'll be able to go upstairs. That's what she told me. So I did it. I listened to instructions. We get back in, and I'm like, hi, I got you know, the ID, and I also got an email. And also she had told me if I can get Emerald to call her and confirm on the phone, then that would also be helpful. When I had told Emerald about the whole situation, when she had landed, she said, I'm going to call them. So Emerald tells me I called her, I spoke to her, she said it's fine, and she said that you guys can come back. She said it's okay for y'all to come back. So then when we finally got up and we finally ended up back in the hotel, and I said, yeah, you know, I have all this information, and by the way, my friend said she called and she spoke to you. She's like, I didn't get a phone call.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
Huh. That's peculiar, because you're the only person here. And the same number I used to call a few days ago to confirm my reservation is the same number I gave Emerald to call so she could talk to you. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So she was like, yeah, I didn't speak to anybody, so I don't know what your friend is talking about. I said, oh, okay. You know, despite the fact that she's saying that she never got a phone call from Emerald, I'm like, well, I do have the ID that you asked me for, and I do have the confirmation that you asked me for. Is that okay? So she looks at the ID and stuff like that, and she's like, okay. So she goes to the back and she's like, I'll be right back. She goes to the back and she comes forward and she's like, you know what, that's not enough for my manager. My manager's not comfortable letting you up and stuff like that. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're the one who told me that I could go upstairs if I gave you this information. Now I'm getting buck with her. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting buck with her, because it's just like, ho, trick, don't play with me. You literally told me that I could go upstairs and now you're moving the goalposts. Don't do that. So she's like, yeah, well, I mean, my manager is just, he don't want to let you in, basically. And I'm like, oh. So now she's talking to me and I said, I gets the dialing. Then I call Emerald because she had landed. Remember, she had landed. So I'm like, she won't let me upstairs. So she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, she won't let me upstairs. Even though I showed the ID, I showed the email, you said you called her, which, by the way, she said she never got your phone call, boo. She said she never got your phone call. She will not let me upstairs. So she's like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the problem? So then after that, she's like, let me talk to her. So I said, okay. So I said, Emerald is on the phone. She wants to talk to you. She wants to confirm with you since you did not get her phone call before. So I hand her the phone. It's on speaker, by the way. I hand her the phone. She's looking at my phone like, who this for? So I'm like, the phone. Here, the phone. So she's like, oh, I mean, who's on the phone? I said, the person whose name is on the reservation, the person you said you didn't hear from, she's on the phone. So she gets the phone from me and she's like, hello. And then Emerald is like, yeah, you know, my name is Emerald, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's my friend. I'm trying to get her checked in. Like, is there any way I could get her checked in? I'm still trying to go through customs with my family. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get there. So she's like, oh, well, ma'am, we're going to need more information than that. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Emerald was like, okay, well, can I talk to your manager? So she's like, my manager doesn't speak English. So she's like, your manager doesn't speak English? So she's like, no, my manager doesn't speak English. So she's like, okay. Emerald is like, okay, I got somebody on the phone who could talk Spanish. Can you get your manager on the phone? So she's like, okay. Didn't expect that one, did you? Right. So she's like, I'll be right back. She tells me she'll be right back. And I'm on the phone with Emerald. And I'm like Emerald, like, this bitch. I'm like, yeah, she do. So then after that, the lady goes to the back and she comes back with the man who I assume is the manager. The man, by the way, does not acknowledge me at all. He's talking to the lady. The lady takes my phone from me and Emerald gets her sister's friend on the phone. The sister friend speaks Spanish. So I hear the sister's friend talking to the man and she's like, you know, they're both communicating in Spanish. I don't know what they're talking about, but I guess like whatever is whatever. So then after that, the man gives me my phone back. He gives the lady the phone back and the manager or the hotel owner, whoever that man was, he was so rude. When I tell you he came out the room, he did not even acknowledge my presence. Not even a hola. Girl, I understand hola. If he would have said hola, he ain't saying nothing to me. He didn't even look at me. He just spoke to her. He took the phone from her. He spoke to the person on the phone. He spoke to the lady again, and then he walked away. Never acknowledged me, not once. It's getting weird. The lady is talking to the friend on the phone, and then after that, they hang up. So then after... They didn't hang up. So she gave me the phone back and she's like, okay, well, my manager just says that if you're able to, you know, get another email from Emerald and you're also able to get Emerald's picture attached to the email to confirm that you are able to check in there and she's liable for anything that happens and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, then you can go upstairs. So I'm like, oh, why is you playing with me? Because I gave you all of those things. I gave you all of those things separately, but I gave you all of those things and now you are telling me that that's what you need? Oh, you think this is a game? Okay, all right, okay. So I'm like, all right, ma'am, okay. So then as we're on the phone, Emerald does it right away and I'm standing on the phone and I'm not moving because at this point you're getting me tight and I'm not going back. So I'm standing on the wall, the child is standing there, we're agitated, we're irritated. We're both a little muggy now because we're both wearing like sweatshirts and stuff and it's hot, we're kind of wet a little bit, like it's gross and we're irritated. So we're standing there and, you know, the lady finally gets the email from Emerald and she's like, okay, well, I have the information. So I'm like, yeah, girl, she got the information. I'll talk to you later. She's like, you good, you guys good? And I'm like, yeah, she got the information. And so she's like, all right, just let me know. So I hang up the phone and I'm standing there with an attitude because now I'm mad. So she's like, okay, well, I need your name. I need a picture of your passport. or your ID or whatever, and I also need you to sign this paperwork. So I say, okay. So I take it, I sign the paperwork, I put my name on it. She gets to looking at the child. She said, is he staying with y'all? Is he staying here too? I said, no, he's not staying here. He's waiting for Emerald and the rest of her family so he can go back to his accommodations. He's not staying here. We just flew together. So she's like, okay, well, you know, he cannot be here overnight. I said, ma'am, he's not staying here. He's waiting for his sister and his mother and his family. He's not staying here. So she's like, okay. So I'm like, all right. And so I sign everything. She gives me the card and she's like, okay, and when Emerald comes here, Emerald needs to come and like sign paperwork and confirm who she is. So I said, okay. So me and the boy, you know, she's like, oh, your suitcase. So I take my suitcase from the back and then we go to the elevator and we finally check in. Now when we had checked in, you know, I scoped the scenery, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking around, I'm trying to make sure there's no bugs in here. I'm like picking up the folds, I got my light, I'm looking for bed bugs, I'm looking in the bathroom, see if it's dirty, see if there's hair around. You know, I'm doing what I have to do. And it looked clean, it looked fine. The only thing is that the toilet roll was like empty. They hadn't replaced it and they hadn't given me like a towel. So I like called downstairs for it and she said like later on they were gonna, you know, do that. So we're finally in the hotel. The little boy connects to the Wi-Fi. He gets on Netflix. He's doing his thing. And I could finally breathe, right? I could finally breathe because after doing all of this, I could finally sit in a hotel. So I take off my hoodie and stuff. I get to charging my phone and I'm just waiting for Emerald. So finally Emerald comes with her family, and then after that, like, she brings her little brother like his change of clothes and all of that. We get situated. That night nothing really happened except for a few of us went out to get drinks and like tacos and to, you know, walk around the area a little bit. But that's the only thing that happened. Nothing much happened after that. So the next day was actually I think it was actually the day of a boat party. So they had like a boat ride, like a catamaran type of situation going for like the bridal party. So we had to meet them at their resort because, like I said, everybody else was staying at this resort. So we pull up to the resort. Beautiful big resort. So we pull up to the resort and stuff like that, and we're waiting for the bus so everybody could get on there. So we get on the bus and it's like a long ride to get to where the hotel to where the boats are. We get on the boat. That was a very fun time. I had so much fun on that boat. I had so much fun because we got to control the ox. Like the staff were super fun. They had these little syringe things where they could get like liquor in your mouth. Like, it was so cool. It was fun. I had a good time. The beach that we pulled up to was super nice as well. We had food. It was a vibe, honestly. It really was. We got off of the boat. The plan was for people to go to wedding rehearsal. The wedding rehearsal was the same day of the boat ride. So I get off the boat and we are not staying at the resort, right? If you want to go to the resort and you want to get a day pass, I think it was like $50 or something like that, or $60, or 20. I think it was something. It was a certain amount of money, and I was cool with paying the money, right? But Emerald is like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. Here's what we're gonna do instead. We're gonna sneak onto the resort, and I'm like, oh shit. I am a law-abiding citizen. I don't do things like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not that girl. Emerald is a way more adventurous person than I am. She's like a rule breaker. Like, she just does what she wants to do within boundaries, of course. Like, nothing that would get me in legal trouble, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just little shit. So she's like, we're gonna sneak onto this resort, and she doesn't even give me a chance to talk back, because she's like, just follow me, start walking. The people who had already stayed on the resort started walking, and so we started walking behind them. And nobody stopped us. Like, none of the staff was like, hey, can I see your ID? Hey, can I see your name? Nothing like. We just followed them. We just kept on walking. So Emerald was like, you know what? Just keep walking. So we're walking. We're on the resort now. And Emerald is like, you know what? Like, I don't have any change of clothes. You don't have any change of clothes. The bridal rehearsal plus the dinner is like at this resort. There's no point in you coming back out and coming back in, because now you really have to pay for it. So just stay here, right? And I will bring you a change of clothes. So Emerald goes back to her hotel and she takes a shower. She brings a change of clothes. She gets a change of clothes for herself, and then she gets a change of clothes for me. I am in this hotel room. I am in her cousin's hotel room, the cousin that came for the wedding. I'm in their hotel room. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for her. It had been like an hour till she came back. She gave me my clothes, and I'm like getting situated. We go back downstairs and it's this big chaos. It's this big chaos with her family, because they're looking for her other brother, who is drunk out of his mind. Nobody realized how drunk he was until this situation happened. The brother gets so drunk You hear me? That his ass decides that he's gonna go around the resort and not tell anybody where he's at. We turn around for 2 minutes to talk to each other. And because we're thinking now we're gonna get into the taxi and we're gonna go to the hotel, because that's the whole point of hunting down the brother. We're getting to talk to each other and we turn back around. The brother's gone. The brother is gone. You hear me? The brother has left the premises. We do not see where the brother is at all. So now everybody's kind of like scrambling. Some people are going back and forth. Some of the bridal party groomsmen is trying to figure out like where the brother went. They're asking us questions we don't know how to answer. And then finally we like, one of the hotel people, we flagged them down and we're like trying to get them to, you know, assist us and see if they could like call the police. Not even call the police, but like trying to see like how we could track somebody down, you know what I mean? Or like which direction somebody would go in from this resort. They don't know how to help us because they don't know what the hell is going on. So I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. Emerald is crying because she's like, where's my brother? Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I want to make sure he's safe and stuff like that. She's mad, but she's crying at the same time. And I'm just standing there. Again, we're calling him continuously. Me, her, the other brothers, the groomsmen, the mother. Everybody's calling his phone. He is not answering. Finally, he answers Emerald's calling. He's like, I'm back at the hotel. I'm fine. Okay. So then she hangs up the phone and she's like, yeah, he's back at the hotel. He's fine. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna get a taxi. And the next thing that happened was the what? No. The day that we had went out to the bar, the day we landed from the flight, we had went out to drink and get some tacos like I told y'all. And the people who were staying at the Airbnb were also at a nearby restaurant. So we went up to link with them. And then after that, they had all kind of like separated a little bit because some of them weren't feeling well. So the mother and somebody else had stayed. So the mother was with us the whole time. So the mother comes and she's like, oh, I want to go home. Like, can you guys take me home? Because I'm nervous. You know, I don't know Mexico and stuff like that. Can you take me home? I'll get your taxi back to the resort. So me and Emerald and the mother, we get into a car and we get the mother dropped off at her Airbnb. We get her dropped off and we get back in a taxi to go back to our hotel. We're in what seems like traffic, and I'm confused because again, this is not Cancun. This is not the main Cancun. So like, why is it so much traffic in this area? We're at a standstill basically. It's not moving. It's like 8 o'clock at this point. It's not even that late. So we're like in the car and we're like not moving. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like looking to the side because I don't want to roll my window down. I'm like looking to the side, seeing if I could see anything off to the left or whatever. And I see a bus, like a big bus, like a bus that's like a coach bus for excursions. I see a bus. And then there's 3 cars in front of us. One that's a regular car, another regular car, and then a pickup car with like a cab. So I'm like looking and I see some movement in the car that's like a cab. And all of a sudden, 6 Mexican military men hop out from the back of this cab and they go pounding at the door of the bus. So they go pounding at the door or whatever. Finally, the doors open and they go inside. Mind you, these men have big mouse tools. You hear what I'm saying? Big mouse tools on them. Now, before we had went to Mexico, I was also watching a Storytime, not a Storytime, I was watching a vlog, and the girl was saying how her and her brother had got stopped while they were like in a taxi, and one of those guys, one of the, like the military or whatever, they had stopped them, and they basically told them that like if they didn't pay them like, it was like 400 USD or something like that, they would take them to jail. I had this at the back of my head the whole time. I saw this vlog 1 week before I got to Mexico, so this is heavy on my head, and I'm having PTSD at this point, and I'm thinking, oh shit, they about to extort me for some money that I don't have.
The money was looking very funny.
So I'm over there shaking in the backseat. I'm like, oh my God, like what's happening? The funniest part of this whole situation is while we're trying to figure out what's going on, our taxi driver is laughing. He's like, he pulls out his phone. He gets the recording. He's like, he's laughing at the situation. And then he takes the video that he just took and he posted it in his WhatsApp group chat. This man is gossiping about the things that are going right in front of us, and I'm shaking like a stripper in the backseat. About to lose the food that I just ate. Every single one of them tequila shots about to come right back up in the back of your seat, sir. You better tell me what's happening. Tell me now. The man doesn't say anything to us. He's just laughing and he's texting his group chat. He's giving them the tea about what's happening. And I'm like, oh my God. I see some people come out of the bus and I see them kind of like put them in a different car or whatever. Thankfully, the people with the muscatools, the military and stuff like that, they got back into their car, they got back into the cab, they kept driving, and then traffic resumed normally. It resumed the way it was supposed to go, so that was fine. Next thing that happened was the wedding. There's nothing to say about the wedding. The wedding was beautiful. They had fire dancers, the food was good, the fish was just 10 out of 10. It was so good. We had an amazing time. I had so much fun. It was great. So that was the wedding. And then after that, I think, yeah, the next day we just like walked around because I was like too tired to do anything, honestly, and so was Emerald. Everybody was just exhausted. It was just like a really, really tiring trip. The day that we were supposed to go back to New York or whatever, I get the little boy, we pick him up from his Airbnb. Me and Emerald, we pick him up from his Airbnb. We had checked out our hotel, picked him up. Emerald was just gonna stay there. We called a taxi for me and the little boy. So we get there, we get on our flight. The flight was fine. There was nothing to complain about, really. The thing that was weird about that flight is that there was a family, like a big family, and they were just making like a lot of noise. And there was also a family with like 2 small children, and the small children were misbehaving the whole time. I'm talking like 3, 4-year-olds, 4, 5-year-olds. Like, they were just being so rude to their mom. They were throwing things all over the floor. It's like nobody had control over them, and I was just like,
Brother,
like, oh no, I hate when people can't control their children on flights. And that's also a story time I have coming soon about the flight from hell that I was on recently. But that was the only other thing that happened during that flight. JFK will not see heaven for this. When we landed, it almost felt like 6 other flights had landed at the same time, and this gave me a That's a Raven flashback, because I had been in this situation before. Another story time I will tell y'all relatively soon. We landed, and when I tell you, it was so crowded. It was so crowded in customs. Now, you know, when you land through customs, you gotta go through customs before you get your baggage. So like, when I tell you, it was bumper to fender traffic in that area. I couldn't even move. So much traffic that I couldn't see the sign that was for immigration versus like U.S. citizens. I couldn't tell which line was which because it was that crowded. And I think I took a picture and I sent it to Emerald because she wasn't on our flight, of course. So I sent it to her. So if I have that picture still, I'm gonna pop it on here. But it was so many people in that area, and we're asking the people who work at JFK, like, hey, which line is for the U.S. citizens? And they're telling us the wrong line. So we get on the line, and I start to realize everybody in this line is speaking another language, and I'm like, this cannot be the line for U.S. citizens. It just can't. Not to say people in New York don't speak other languages, because everybody knows New York is a very diverse city, but this can't be the citizens line. So I'm like, this is not right. So then the little boy is like, I think we're in the wrong line. So I'm like, but she told us it's the right line. He's like, yeah, but I don't think it's the right line. So then I'm like, shit, like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose our place, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be in the wrong line. So I tapped the person in front of us, like, really tall English guy, and I'm like, hey, what line is this? And he's like, oh, it's the immigration line. So we get off the line and we try to find the end of the other line. We finally get on that line. Now, I've killed about 40 minutes on the wrong stupid ass line. The line for the U.S. citizen seems to be even longer than the immigration. I should have just been there. The problem was I forgot all about global entry. Had I done global entry, I could have just, you know, did it online, went through the global entry line, and just been out. But I didn't even think about that because I was so tired. I slept the whole flight. So I was so annoyed, bro. Like, so we stayed in that line, I want to say for like 2 hours or something like that. It was a nightmare. It was so long. I was so exhausted. I was just irked. It was more children misbehaving and playing in their parents' faces, and I was exhausted beyond reason. I don't know if I'll be back. Honestly, I kind of want to try it again just to see what it will be like with like maybe like me and my boyfriend, or like just me and one other person, just to give the trip like a redo and see what happens. But honey. But yeah, that's the end of my story. If you like my story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe and join the gang, because you're watching this whole video. You might as well stick around. Like the video, like I said, like. It's free, and it helps me so much, way more than you guys would ever believe it does. I love you guys so much. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Don't forget to follow me on my socials. That is Instagram and TikTok. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Shout out to everybody. I had fun.